Kinyanjui and Onyango Olo are with me in studio. But before we hear from the IEBC stalemate, let's look at the following story on the electoral body. Now, established under Article 248 of the Constitution of Kenya 2010, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission is responsible for conducting or supervising referenda and the election to any election body or office established by the Constitution. But the responsibility is not as easy as it may sound on paper. The Commission confronts a wide range of challenges, ranging from corruption to issues of public trust. Ken Aseka now helps us and puts this into perspective.
Today, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission is in the limelight with the August polls just 45 days away. Gripped between ballot paper printing tender controversy and cleaning the voter register, the agency is fighting to guarantee Kenyans free and fair elections. In August 2011, 9 took oath of office to become the IEBC commissioners. Under the chairmanship of Isaac Hassan, the commission would go ahead to conduct the hotly contested 2013 general election, an election whose presidential results were contested by Raila Odinga, the Supreme Court upholding the win of President Uhuru Kenyatta. But Hassan and his team could not stay in office to oversee this year's general election. Mid-last year, the Coalition for Reforms and Democracy Code called for the removal of the team from office. Led by the opposition leader Raila Odinga, Code staged countrywide demos expressing fears that the commissioners had lost public trust and will not conduct credible elections. Amid the pressure to quit, the Chicken Gate scandal hung on the necks of some commissioners. A British government report had named commissioners and tender committee members for allegedly receiving money from Smith and Osman to influence awarding of ballot paper printing tender. And when the heat was too hot to bear, the 9 electoral commissioners and their chairman quit, paving the way for a new team. But since Wafula Chebukati and his team took over in January this year, the sailing has not been that easy. The electoral agency has confronted challenges ranging from the integrity of political candidates to the controversial awarding of the ballot paper printing tender to Dubai-based firm Al Ghurair, which has already found its way in court. Fears of the system failing and the need for a standby manual option have caused political jitters. And as August polls fast approaches, IEBC remains on the spot with the public trust and confidence already at stake. Undoubtedly, the Commission's main task is to deliver free, fair and credible elections with Wafula Chebukati, the man of the moment. Will the Commission pass the test? Ken Aseka, KTN News.
Right, so with me in studio, we have constitutional lawyer Harrison Kinyanjui and also another lawyer, Onyango Olo, who is the NASA Secretariat spokesperson. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us bright and early this morning for the Dawn debate. Let me start with you, Harrison Kinyanjui, and would like to separate facts and fiction with what we have on the table. Is this an issue of IEBC not having done things correctly, above board, or are we just dealing with a trust issue?
Neither. With respect, this is a well-orchestrated plan, excuse me, to discredit the IEBC because one of the political players, NASA, feels, perceives, knows, and are fully alive to the fact they will lose. Now, aware of that fact, they need to build this critical mass, negative I should add, that favors that outcome, explains that outcome, and justifies their resultant, if I should say, political chaos. Because they have scripted the narrative consistently, time after time, that the IEBC is biased against them. They metamorphose, by the way, from ODM to CORD and now to NASA. Still the same in it at the core theme. that the rigging of the election has been done against them. By who? By who? I mean, if you're confident of winning the election, why should you be harping and singing along this redundant, broken record song, I will be rigged out? So therefore, it is not that the IEBC has a problem with this ballot printing company. No. They are fully alive that there was a Kajiado by-election. They won. Who was printing the ballot papers? Same company, Al Ghurair. Did they raise a question? Did anybody go to court and say, now stop, we're about to go to a by-election and we feel that we're going to be rigged out? They didn't. They confidently walked into it and they did their whole nomination process. Eventually, they won. But now that we are headed to the general election, they come up with this script. The president met Al Ghurair people in October 2016. And you say, wait a minute. In December, to be precise, on the 19th of December, 2016, you lodged a proceeding in the Judicial Review Court, actually, to be precise, against IEBC to challenge Al Ghurair. Didn't you know that the president allegedly met these people in October, 2 months prior?
But at that time, they had not been awarded the tender, I guess.
And they had. So the challenge was, at that time, I have the law report, that the commissioners were not properly in office as at the time of the award of the tender. So they went on that basis, not on the basis that the president allegedly had met Al Ghurair people. And even if you look at the directors of Al Ghurair, this Chamber of Commerce chair of Dubai is not among the directors. Their own court papers prove that beyond any peradventure. What am I saying? This is not, quote unquote, a new thing that they now know of. As of December 2016, it was public knowledge that that chair of the Dubai Chamber of Commerce had gone to State House as the chair of the Chamber of Commerce of Dubai, not as Al Ghurair. Okay. So, therefore, and this is my conclusion on that aspect, therefore, aware of that fact, there is no issue. There was no hullabaloo, nothing, because the visit was innocent. No one even asked under Article 35 from their wing, produce, lay on the table the communication you had with Al Ghurair. They didn't. And even the court papers today, I had a look at them. Yesterday they filed. We will challenge all that. They have not asked to produce what transpired in State House. And yet, it is their right to information. So what are we saying here? Propaganda. Propaganda.
Okay. Onyangolo, is it just mere propaganda and like lawyer Kenyanjui says, a consistent attack on IEBC for, like somebody said, so that politicians would thrive in chaos?
Certainly not, Mike. Come October last year, and the old IEBC commissioners were still in office. Hurriedly, and precisely on 13th of October, the tender was awarded to Al Ghurair. You have aptly put it about getting the facts right. Let us start by getting the facts right. 9 companies had applied for the tender to supply the ballot papers. 2 of them, I think, were from India, 1 from Dubai, Ireland, Italy, and even a Kenyan company. And through the technical and financial evaluation process, 8 of these companies were disqualified, such that only Al Ghurair had met the technical and financial qualification criteria. In law, and my colleague knows, the tender was unresponsive. What does that mean? That the tender had to be re-advertised. They did not do that. They declared these 8 unresponsive, proceeded to award the tender to the only one which they declared responsive, which was Al Ghurair. Of course, the South African company went to the Public Procurement Administrative Review Board. And the review board ordered and directed IEBC to restart the process. And mark the word, the process, afresh. Whereupon Al Ghurair appealed to the High Court. And IEBC appealed to the High Court. The High Court did not stop commencement of the process afresh. But what happens? IEBC refuses to start the process. They wait until Al Ghurair loses the High Court appeal. Then they conveniently withdraw the appeal. Time lapses. What do? They do not start the process. They now go to a restricted tender. Remember, the process which was ordered was open tender. They were not told to start a process or any process. They were told to restart the process. But now they go to restricted tender, quoting time. Yet they had all the time, they slept on it.
Although within the law they do have that allowance to do, what's it called, single tender?
They do have, but
Single
remember
sourcing.
here now, this is password.
Single sourcing.
Remember, I have not even reached single sourcing. We are now in restricted tender. And remember now there's a court order which tells you now, restart the process, which was open. Okay? They now go to restricted tender. Through the restricted tender, they supposedly bring 4 new people. But which the court papers show. There were no 4 new people. They purported that they had invited 4 new people. These were just the agents of the other 9 who were disqualified on technical grounds. In other words, paving the way again for Al Ghurair without inviting people who would qualify and maintaining Al Ghurair in competition by people they had disqualified on technical and financial evaluation ground. Again, they awarded to Al Ghurair. I hope we are on the same page. And at that point, what happens? An appeal is made. And when the appeal is made, this thing goes, and a decision is made again that you people now have to redo this thing because you did not even invite other people to also retender, even if it is restricted tender. Now start the process again. What do? They now go to direct single sourcing. Now the third one, that is the one that you're talking about. And through that direct single source, what do? They award it again to Al Ghurair. From the word go, Al Ghurair is the common factor. Since everything must be tailored towards Al Ghurair. If Al Ghurair is going to compete, it must compete against people who have been disqualified on technical and financial evaluation basis. If Al Ghurair is going to be given on a single sourcing, it has to be Al Ghurair. Now, it is at this point that the NASA fraternity are saying, look, these things stinks to the high heavens. And checking back on their records, we get to know that Al Ghurair has been involved in meetings with senior government officials. And so, and as my colleague aptly knows, it is the right of every Kenyan to seek judicial intervention to protect his or the public rights. So the NASA fraternity says if it is going to be Al Ghurair at all costs, then we are going to go to court to intervene until justice is done in this tendering process. Must it be Al Ghurair after all? We are not saying give it to a particular company. We are saying give it to any company, but not this Al Ghurair that has been participating and going to bed with IEBC and the government.
Okay. Before I come back to Kinyanjui, through the whole submission that you have given, is there anything that has been illegal in that process? Because we're trying to separate fact and fiction.
Yes.
What is illegal in that process?
Number one, the tender at the initial conception becomes non-responsive when only one person
so
qualifies.
Why was it not challenged at that point?
That is at the point that South African company went to the public review and administrative process, and it was set aside.
Okay. Kinyanjui?
I'm shocked. Really, I mean, when you build up this theme this redundant message that the IEBC seems to be favoring one company. You forget, their favored company is Pearl Media. There is information in the public domain that there was a promise of about $1 billion to their presidential candidate. That same Pearl Media actually is based in the United States, but they have a subsidiary in South Africa. So the front now being made here is that we have a South African company. But really, I mean, this is the same entity connected with what I had said earlier on. And let him challenge me if I'm wrong, if I'm lying, if I'm misleading anyone. Vanguard Africa, led by Jeffrey Smith, have that same script which they use in the Gambia, and how they want to play out here using the same template. And that template has the same sort of player as Pearl Media. What am I saying? Their favorite company is Pearl Media. Pearl Media is the one that came to challenge Al Ghurail's award of the tender. And yes, they went to the Public Procurement Board, Appeals Board. And yes, indeed, the issue of the technical evaluation and whatever rose up and all of that. And then the issue of Section 44, subsection 4 of the Elections Act kicks in as amended. You have to have this procured within 8 months. That is a law as passed by Parliament. So now the IEBC began running short of time. On whose default? Or who is to be blamed? Pearl Media had not been selected. Court went to court. Now, what am I saying? Block after block is placed on the path of the IEBC, and it doesn't have the luxury of time. So suddenly the IEBC finds itself in that boxed-in position for lack of time, and what do? So they have to counter-apply to the Public Procurement Board, and the issue is that, yes, you can have your restrictive tendering. So I really wonder how Pearl Media or these other so-called companies then did not get an audience. If you look at Section 176 of the Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Act, as amended, any such company or any candidate in the election has a right to seek for administrative review of such a decision. Pearl Media has not gone to court. None of those so-called companies have gone to court. Who has gone to court? NASA.
Okay.
What am I saying in a nutshell? These so-called entities that should have had the valid ground to say that I have been disqualified within the prescription of the law. I'm quoting a specific section 176 of the PPOA Act. Now, they claim there has been less than transparent transactions between the IEBC and this Al Ghurail involving the presidency. So that is the thrust of their argument. Note, and it is, I have the court papers with me, it is not that these other entities were deprived of the opportunity. That is the thrust of their case.
So as that's all a good build up to where we are coming from and how we have gotten where we are. But because of time, let's save on time and look at where we are today and what it means. Because at the end of the day, the 8th of August is set on stone, as it were, as per the Constitution. It must happen.
Let us first get, this is about debunking the myths. First, let Kenyans know that NASA has no preferred company in this ballot paper business. We neither support Pearl Media, we don't support any of them. All that we ask for is may the best man win, but it must be done competently, transparently, and in a credible manner that any reasonable person walking on the street would have confidence in that matter. Number one. Number two, I'm extremely shocked by allegations coming from a senior colleague that he would take issues that he hear on political rallies propaganda, that the NASA leader was promised 1 billion shillings. Definitely, you know, nothing could be far from the truth. We have no specific company that must win this thing. But we are saying, must it be Al Ghurair? Number one. Number two, you are asking that this matter has been cast on stone, that 8th of August is the date of the elections. Yes, the Constitution of the Republic of Kenya comes in no uncertain terms and says elections must be conducted on 8th of August this year. But look, there has been deliberate delay so that we are constrained of time. There was no restraining order when the Public Procurement Review Board said restart the process. What stopped IEBC from restarting the process if it was not to delay so that we are boxed into the corner? Let me make this clear, Mike, to all our viewers, that our laws, including the Constitution of the Republic of Kenya, are meant to serve the people of Kenya. The people of Kenya are not meant to serve the Constitution or any laws in this country. Ghana, which compares favorably with us in matters of constitutional development and democratic practice, did postpone their elections until the issues of ballot was readdressed. We are not saying that we have postponed the elections as a NASA fraternity.
But is that an option?
We are saying we have time. Cancel this tender, restart it afresh, and let people who qualify be brought in. But constrained to the time, and I want to make this clear, Mike, the NASA fraternity, Raila Amolo Odinga, the presidential candidate of NASA, will not take part in an election whose outcome has been determined and where one presidential candidate is said to have printed ballot papers on 8th of August.
All right, Kenyanjui, very simple question. What stops IEBC from cancelling the tender? We have 45 days to go, 44 to go. What stops them from cancelling the tender right now? Restart the process, even if it's single sourcing, get another firm that is neither Pearl Media nor Al Ghurair, but qualifies under the technical terms required.
I have to shake my head.
In disagreement, or?
They have this acronym, SMH. I gotta do it. But the Bible does say, the good book says, from the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. They have spoken loudly and clearly. Now we have heard their presidential candidate plans to boycott the election. Did I hear you right?
If it is not...
Wait a minute.
You did not get me right.
Let me break it down for you. Let me break it down. Hold on. You say this. Yes. Your presidential candidate is not prepared to go into an election in which you people perceive that the ballot printing company has extra ballots printed. Well, it was captured on tape. It was captured on tape. You do not need to break it down for me any further, but that's what you said. So we know it has now come out to the Kenyan populace that your presidential candidate is prepared to hold this country at ransom and say, I'm not going to go to the election. Very well, in Burma, I have to put him on notice. In Burma, they boycotted the election. One MP was voted by 8 voters, and he served his full term. So very well, be our guest. If you want to boycott the election, we will go to the election. I have my ballot. I will cast it on 8th of August. Now, having come to the same issue that I was saying earlier on, it is a script that they have. This same company, Vanguard Africa, was behind what happened in Ghana, and gladly, from the abundance of the mouth, from the heart, the mouth speaketh. So they have affirmed that indeed that is a script. And I'm glad that Mr. Olo did not in any way deny what I said about Vanguard Africa. In his rejoinder, he did not even express any disaffiliation from Vanguard Africa. Vanguard Africa has told them, you must go to this point of discrediting the IEBC that we do not have the election.
All right.
And now they are clutching at straws.
Okay, fine. You've not answered my question. What stops IEBC from cancelling the tender and issue it to somebody, to a neutral party?
We don't have the timelines at all. And as I have said, why are they acting blind to the law? Article 10(2)(b) is a principle that, one of the principles espoused there is a rule of law. The principle of the rule of law. We are a country that is governed by the rule of law. It is not the law of the jungle. Now, Allah has in turn told us, and he began his rejoinder by saying that the law, the constitution, is made for the Kenyan people, and the Kenyan people are not made for the constitution. When you told him that August 8th is cast in stone, as it were, so what is he telling us? We are ready to defy the law. We will not be locked in the date. Let me now quickly say that. The IEBC does not have the luxury of time. No. That's what I'm saying. And we cannot cancel a tender merely on the basis of spurious allegations. Allegations, perceived perceptions. If I perceive Mr. Olo did not have breakfast this morning, I am perceiving, and I can offer him breakfast when we leave here. That's a perception that I have. But is it a fact that he did not have breakfast? Is it a fact? Now, when I begin offering him breakfast at the Intercontinental, when we leave here, he's likely to tell me, I'm afraid, Harrison, I can't take up your offer. But, well, you're welcome, anyway, for that offer.
All right, it's good you've extended that welcome. I hope it's extended to me as well. But
Harrison
anyway.
is a good friend of mine, a former schoolmate. Harrison, I'm so shocked by some avowals that you're making to the Kenyan public. One question that you're consistently avoiding coming from Mike is simple. Why can't we cancel this tender and start afresh? And you are continuing.
I have answered.
Old retired answer and tired response is that IEBC has no luxury of time. Are you aware, or could you be in the know, that Al Ghurair was given 21 days from the date of being given tender within which to supply the materials? In essence, that date, 21 days, should commence from the date when IEBC finishes the issues of clarifying on the candidates, verifying their records. So and they undertook that within 21 days, they can complete that process. So we have more than 21 days, Harrison. So we can restart the process. That is step one. We can do this thing for the benefit of the people of Kenya. And secondly, and most importantly, Harrison, the people of Kenya are more important than the players in the political scene. You quote Bama. Bama ain't in Africa, brother. And can I
It's an example of a boycott of an election.
Help you? We love this country. We are patriotic to this country. It is for that reason that I want to make it clear. You tried to paraphrase me, but paraphrased me wrongly. That NASA is able, NASA is willing, NASA is ready to participate in the 8th of August elections, and we are raring to go and form the next government.
It's not.
But NASA is not going to take part in an election where a candidate has printed ballot papers, where a candidate has already made
Those are allegations. Those are allegations. We don't have proof of that. It is a perception. Yes, it is a perception. Yes. But Onyango Law, you also do understand that IEBC, being an independent body, cannot dance to the tune of everybody who perceives that there is a problem. They also need to take their stand.
You want my response?
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much. It is an independent body until we realize that they are feeble and they're dancing to the tune of the government of the day. And we are saying you, yes, in the sense that they are awarding the tender consistently to a party that has partaken consistently with the executive.
Can they be allowed to operate independently and go through the procurement process that is legal, which I asked you earlier on as to whether they had flouted any law, which you said no, they had not?
I told you they have. One, when a tender becomes non-responsive, it is illegal to continue with it.
Okay.
But at that stage, it was cancelled at that stage, and there was in fact a court of appeal decision.
When you're making,
I let you speak.
When you were speaking, I was quiet. The second aspect of it, the board said restart the, not the word the, article, the process. At that time, the process was open tender.
All right,
They went
gentlemen,
for a restricted tender.
because of time, we need to wind up.
Procurement, yes.
Where we are today,
Yes.
what does it mean? Does it mean we may have to have the elections postponed? What stands before us as Kenyans? We need to understand, now that NASA has gone to court, that is a fact. Now that they have challenged it, that is a fact. What is the fact of the outcome? What is it that we should expect?
We should expect the case to be dismissed. There are no facts there. This guy swears an affidavit and says that he perceives that there was some interaction between the chair of Dubai Chamber of Commerce and the president.
Okay.
And that this chair is connected to Al Ghurair, the company publishing. I have the court papers with me.
All right.
There is not a shred of evidence. NASA is not ready at all for the election. What do I mean? Look at Honorable Boni Khalwale. He is fighting Honorable Oparanya.
Okay, I need us to wind up.
Yes.
Onyango Law, should the court throw this case out, does that mean then NASA is ready to go to the elections with that decision?
Before we proceed to that level, let me make it clear that this script did not start with the tendering process alone.
I need you to answer the question.
And I'm answering you straight.
Time.
The first thing you saw, the government pushed the manual voting system in parliament by force. They were preparing
It was consensus.
I gave you a chance to talk, Harrison. I've always had a lot of respect in your ability as a lawyer to listen to the other party. Listen. There was the manual process that Parliament forced, that the government forced there. It was a preparation for Al Ghurair to bring extra ballot papers.
Because of time, Onyango, I need us to move on, because now we are restricted by time, just like IEBC. And the question is, if the court rules that Al Ghurair continues with the tender, is NASA willing to go to the election with that decision?
We have opportunities. We'll go to the highest court in the land.
Okay.
My question to him is this: is there time?
Gentlemen, we'll have to wind up there because of time. Thank you very much. Harrison Kinyanjui, Onyango Law, this morning on the Dawn Debate. And what we're looking at is where we are standing as a country, given that NASA is now in court to cancel the tender given to Al Ghurair to print the ballot papers. Well, right here on KTN News, we are definitely going to keep you updated and keeping tabs on that judgment as it comes. For now, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, it's time for us to give you some news updates. And also, we do have hot topics lined up for you. Do stay with us.